Hot, cold, hot, cold.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our meeting this evening. I know the big debate right now is hot and cold with Dwayne right now. So I'm sure Dwayne will keep an eye on that for us. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight, and I appreciate you all coming and attending and listening to our special called meeting tonight. I do want to welcome everybody here. We're going to start out with awards and recognitions, then we'll have agenda approval, and then we'll go to public comment. I would like to just say a few words right now, if I can. We have a large group here in a very, very small area, so I would please appreciate it if everybody could keep everything down. We can hear whispering, we can hear all kinds of little things. We'd like to be able to have a nice, orderly meeting this evening. When we do go to public comments, that's exactly what they are public comments. That is not a time for us during the special call meeting to converse. So I just want folks to know you're welcome to, we have 5 people on who have requested to speak tonight. Because of time limitations, we're still able to keep it open to 5 minutes apiece, and we'd like to keep it at 5 minutes apiece, please. And we'll get started with everything. So, Billy, if you would like to step right in.
I'm ready to step right in. So first up, we have Ann Mason's archery team. Let me tell you a little bit about Ann Mason's archery team and really about Scott County and the archery program that we have. So in Scott County, we coordinate a district archery program, and Bill Oster, credit a lot goes to him because what he does is he's able to really help any school that wants to create a program has been able to do so with the help of this booster group. It reduces the overall cost and it ensures a consistent high standard for coaching. Archers can start as early as 4th grade and continue through high school where they concentrate on improving focus and discipline as well as academic achievement. The program also benefits from dedicated volunteers. There's a lot of parents and community members that serve as coaches and help out in this. Every year in this district, we've had kids participate in archery, and this year we had 600 student archers. And that's a drastic change from 6 years ago when we only had 4 teams. But now everybody has a team. Every school had students qualify for the state tournament recently held in Louisville, and the sport's grown across the state with nearly 10,000 student participants at the state level competition. 8 of our schools, had students qualify for nationals, including archers from Ann Mason Elementary, who we have with us here this evening. We've got people competing today. We've got kids that are competing in high school state. I think Kimbo Messino shot her personal high 290 today, I heard. So this sport, that's the other thing about archery is it goes longer than any sport I think that we offer. Coaches can probably attest to that one. Yeah. Ann Mason was an early addition to the archery program, and they competed at the state level for several years. This year they placed 5th in the state with a total score of 2,981. And I share that number so that you understand when I say that they were just 83 points away from the #1 elementary team score in the state. It kind of puts that in some perspective. So they had an exceptional year and finished exceptionally well. Kinsley Spradley shot a 271, finishing 6th in the state among female archers in her age group. Addison Carpenter and Tinley Weaver placed in the top 15 statewide. And the Ann Mason team will compete at the national competition in just a few weeks. And they're currently ranked 35th in the nation at the elementary level. So please join me as we recognize and celebrate their accomplishment this year. We have with us archers Kinsley Spradley. Come on up. And we also have Addison Carpenter as well. And they are coached by their coaches, Krista Kelly, Rhonda Morris, Tom Abbott, and Joe Wilkerson. If the coaches would come on up too. All right, next up, we're recognizing two outstanding high school teachers. The first of which, some of the things I was reading, I can totally attest to. First, from Scott County High School, we have Jeremy Britt. And Mr. Britt is dedicated to his students, math team, and Scott County High School. After a long day of work, you'll likely find him supporting any number of Scott County High School sports teams. That's the one that came to mind. I think I saw you, Mr. Britt. I know you're out there somewhere. I saw you at the softball game, I guess it was, last week. So yeah, I've seen you at countless events. Anyway, he travels to away games and band competitions to ensure students have a support system and extracurricular activities. Mr. Britt goes far beyond what's asked of him to meet the needs of his students and the goals and objectives of the school and district. He does everything within his power to help all students succeed and meet graduation requirements. He's also a strong department head and works across curriculum to help students better understand content. Our appreciation to Scott County High School teacher, Jeremy Britt.
There you go.
And we have Susan Wickline from Great Crossing High School. Miss Wickline's always willing to step in where needed and shows... I was going to say, I thought I saw you. I didn't know you weren't in here. I saw you. Okay, I saw you down the hall. There you go. Ironically, she's always willing to step in where needed and shows great compassion for both her students and coworkers. As a special education teacher, she does a lot for students on her caseload, co-teachers, and Great Crossing High School as a whole. She's worked for Scott County Schools for many years. She has worked for several years to coordinate high school graduation ceremonies, first for Scott County High School and now for Great Crossing. I'm going to stand up here with you so that you don't have to feel alone. She works passionately to celebrate students who meet graduation requirements, making this milestone even more special. And she even makes her superintendent feel better when he calls a meeting to make sure that we have all the crazy graduation things sorted out so that we don't have to, so I'm not panicking, worrying that we, it's been a few crazy years, so happily we're getting to something a little bit more normal. She's always smiling, has a positive attitude, and cares deeply about her students. Great Crossing considers itself blessed to have her as Warhawk, and we consider blessed to have her at Scott County Schools. Congratulations, Miss Susan Wickline. Last but not least, a man from my neck of the woods. In 1982, E.T. debuted. Epcot opened. Gas cost 91 cents a gallon. And it was the year Bobby Gillespie started his lifetime of service to Scott County Schools. During his tenure, Bobby has seen the population of Scott County more than triple. He's maintained our fleet as the vehicle maintenance supervisor, servicing hundreds and hundreds of buses that have traveled millions upon millions of miles. His legacy has ensured the safety of generations of students in Scott County, including many of us here in this room, myself included. The well-being of our children is in his hands, though many people might not even know his name. Bobby's commitment to our district is worthy of our praise and appreciation every day, but among his many talents, He's a very humble man. He's worked behind the scenes for 4 decades. Join me in celebrating this milestone in Bobby's dedication to transportation, our district, our students, and this community in celebrating 40 years of service. Bobby Gillespie.
All right, let's get a picture real quick. Flip it around there so I can see that. There we go.
Well, thank you. That was a big evening. Thank you. Okay, all right, that's wonderful. All right, number 4, agenda approval. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 5, public comment. I'll go ahead and let everybody. Courtney Case Bolton.
There's seats up here now.
Hey, hello, good evening. Good, how are you?
I'm Courtney Casebolt, President of SCEA, and I'm here tonight to speak about reasonable compensation for Scott County school employees this year and for the 22-23 school year. Scott County school employees, like all educators, have been working through adverse conditions in the past 2 years. We have risen to the challenge of virtual school when needed. We have adapted to shifting back and forth to in-person instruction on short notice. We have taken on the responsibility of enforcing public health measures to ensure continuity of in-person educational services for our students. We have done wellness checks on students and taken on the role of emotional support for our students who have been adversely affected by the pandemic. And we have done all this while being on the front line exposed to COVID for 40 hours a week. Scott County educators and education support professionals have earned a pay raise. According to KDE, Scott County teachers currently earn 3% less than the Kentucky average and are ranked 47th in the state for teacher pay. Throughout the pandemic, surrounding counties have rewarded the hard work and dedication of school employees with stipends and pay raises. Scott County has not. Scott County schools must remain competitive with adjacent districts and private businesses by raising pay for employees. SCEA proposes a 5% pay increase for Scott County school employees for the 2022-23 school year. We also propose a $1,000 stipend paid to employees this spring coming from ESSER funds provided by the federal government. These numbers are in line with what has already happened and continues to happen in surrounding counties. Inflation is currently 8%, and there's a looming teacher shortage nationwide and in the state. Competition for qualified teachers has never been tighter. The time to act is now in order to retain and attract the best possible staff to serve our students. We know that high-quality educators and education support professionals can make a difference in our kids' lives, and this is a worthwhile investment in the future of Scott County. Thank you.
John Bailey. Hello.
Hello, board members, Superintendent Parker. Forgive me if I have to read this. I have a 13 14-hour day here, so I'm a little tired. Okay, paper. I'm Dawn Bailey, President of Scott County KISPA. I would like to speak with you about fairly compensating Scott County employees. Our bus drivers, teachers, custodians, and all Scott County staff have gone above and beyond the last 2 years. We have all taken on extra duties during the pandemic. We all deserve to be justly compensated. To remain competitive, Scott County schools must raise pay for all school staff. While surrounding counties have raised pay and provided stipends for extra duties, Scott County schools have mostly remained stagnant. We are asking for a 5% pay increase for the 22-23 school year. We're also proposing a $1,000 stipend, however you want to say it, be paid from ESSER funds to all Scott County school staff. We deserve to be compensated for the extraordinary effort shown in serving the students of Scott County.
Thank you. Andrew, and I'm not sure on the last name, I'm so sorry. Thank you. Okay, I'm sorry. Just a couple. How are you?
I'm well, so
Good, thank you.
I'm Andrew Bergune. I'm the Vice President of Scott County Education Association. 10 years ago, which was the 2011-2012 school year, Scott County's average classroom teacher salary was $49,700. The current average for classroom teachers in Scott County is $53,400. Using the inflation calculator at the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics website, in order to have the same buying power as a teacher in 2011, our average salary would have to be $64,000. That's an increase of over $10,000. Keep in mind that a $10,000 increase would only mean that we are doing as well as a teacher in 2011, not better. Teachers are going backwards in salary when you look at it in terms of what our salary will buy. This can't be said enough. The average classroom teacher salary in the state is $55,000. Scott County is $1,600 below the state average. And this in a county with a healthy economy and a good tax base. I've got a room full of people that want to know why. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim Hayes. Good evening.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm excellent, thank you for asking. Good evening. Thank you for allowing public comment tonight. I appreciate the opportunity to speak on behalf of the employees of Scott County Schools whose families have been and continue to be affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. My name is Kimberly Zabilka Hayes. My husband, Brajon, and I are both secondary science teachers with a combined 14 years of service to Scott County Schools. We very literally started a family here in Georgetown. Our oldest child is about to turn 4. Our youngest was born in the summer of 2020, at the height of the first COVID surge. After his birth, I made the difficult decision to not take a maternity leave with him. I did not think it was wise to deplete my sick days at the start of a pandemic. More critically, I could not begin to wrap my brain around leaving virtual subplans for biology and chemistry courses. So in the fall of 2020, I taught virtually with a newborn on my lap, and I missed that special time at home with my youngest child. I did it because it was the right thing to do for my family and for my students. This year, our family has faced 4 quarantines of our young children as mandated by WEDCO. During the first quarantine, my husband and I coordinated our absences to minimize the impact on student learning by comparing our lesson plans each night and deciding who would stay home the next day. We did that extra work because it was the right thing to do for our students. During our second quarantine, we took turns staying home so that no one of our students would spend more than one day without a certified teacher in their classroom. We adjusted our lesson plans to make them appropriate for our alternating absences. Again, we did that work because it was the right thing to do for our students. By the third quarantine, I was running dangerously low on sick days, so Brejon stayed home for an entire week. To make sure his students were still learning, I would teach the first half of my class, get coverage from a neighbor, run down the hallway, switch places with his sub, and teach an entirely different lesson for the second half of the period. I did that 6 times every day for a week. I did it because it was the right thing to do for our students. During the fourth quarantine, we had used up our remaining sick days as well as our personal days, which we did not take any of this year. At this point, our generous colleagues began offering to donate days to us if we needed them. But when we asked, we were told by HR they can't do that unless one of us has a qualifying event according to board policy 3.1232. As a direct result of that restrictive policy, last week, I had to decide whether I was going to attend my grandfather's funeral or get paid, a decision no one should have to make. Our family has faced undue hardship this year because of mandated quarantines placed on our children who remain ineligible to be vaccinated and cannot safely or reasonably wear masks. Test to stay was not an option for our children until last month. I have a letter of support with more details on these policies from Mindy Nettles, the director of the Children's Montessori School of Georgetown, where our children attend. I ask that you do the right thing for my family and other families like mine who are still living with pandemic restrictions and provide COVID relief days for us. If you cannot or will not do so, at the very least, I ask that you modify board policy 3.1232 to loosen the current restrictions on sick day donations. It is a $0 solution to a widespread equity issue. And because supporting teachers is also the right thing to do for our students. Thank you for your time.
Shannon? Carr, thank you. Second in, I'm so sorry. I didn't want to slash your name, so I'm sorry. Good evening.
Good evening, thank you. My name is Shannon Carr. I am the Western Nutrition Manager. I am here tonight asking why food service has been let down on raises or any special COVID money. Since COVID hit, we have had to convert our cafeterias into a kitchen, which we've never done that before. We fed breakfast and lunch, sometimes packing 5 meals, 10 meals at a time. We've been out in the rain, we've been out in the snow. Yes, we've had an awning, but we still had to get out of that awning, pick up the bags, open up the trunk, put it in the car, get back under the awning. We were wet, we were cold, we had parents come give us hand warmers because they felt sorry for us, and they were appreciative of the meals, don't get me wrong. I'm asking you today to consider us. We haven't had a raise food service that I think in 2 years, and I don't understand why. We felt more love from a Facebook mom's group page, collected money, and gave every one of our food service employees a $10 gift card because they were appreciative and they felt like we weren't getting the love that we deserved. We were so thankful for that. I really don't know what, I can't say that from our school district. We did not feel the love. We do not feel the love. We are working short staff. We can't get subs. I get texts several times a month. I have a worker that can't show up. I have to, at 5 o'clock in the morning, text my workers and say, I am sorry. We're short staff. Is there any way you can come in a little bit early today so we can get a jump on it? I should not have to ask my staff to work a two-person job, getting paid for one person's salary. You can go to Chick-fil-A today and make $15 an hour. My kitchen, it's about $12 to $16 an hour, depending on, it's not everyone, depending on what level you are in that kitchen. It's not sustainable. We're losing people left and right. I'm asking you today to think of us, because for some reason we always get overlooked, and I don't know why. Subs is a big issue. I know across the board, teacher subs is hard, nutrition services is hard, bus driver subs, I understand that. I don't really know what the solution is, but maybe paying us more, maybe we could get more help. I have a couple of people that have emailed me wanting to work in the school system. But when you say you have to wait 4 weeks before you get your first paycheck, I feel like I'm out. I can go anywhere else and get a paycheck within the first 2 weeks of my job. So I'm just asking today that you think about us, the nutrition services. We've been on the front line from day one. We've had to flip-flop. We've had issues on getting food in. We've had to come up with Plan B. And it's been very hard on our workers. We're tired. Me personally, I am not doing summer feed this year. I need a break. My team, the host, my restaurant is not doing summer feed. We all need a break. And if you're not going to pay us what we think we deserve, and what our, it's hard to make you want to do extra. So I'm just asking you today, think about us when the budget comes. With COVID money, I don't know if all that is spent, but I would like to know if there's anything available. Please think about us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. That is all for our public comment. As we sit here with a room full of people, I want to say to all of the folks concerned, all of our emails are listed online. And as I mentioned last week when I was speaking to Ms. Gasefold, we welcome emails. We welcome communication. We just came out of COVID where lots of people spoke with us. They reached out to us. They sent us emails. Before I came to this meeting tonight, I once again opened up my email and I didn't have one email from anybody concerning this. We will do our best to respond to you, but I do want you to know that because we do want to hear public comment. We do want to hear from our staff. We do want to hear from everybody. And those things do make a difference for us. So I just want to extend that again, okay? All of our emails are out on our Scott County website. Okay, let's jump into our meeting. Number 6. Sure.
Move to adjourn for 5 minutes.
Need a second? All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries.
Quick adjournment.
Yeah. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Back in session. Okay. Number 6, consent agenda items A through K. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 8, construction report. Welcome, Tony. 7, surplus items. All right. Number 7, surplus items. Sorry, Tony.
I didn't go for it.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Tony, join us. Number 8, construction report.
Good evening, Board. Mr. Parker asked that I come tonight and give you a brief update on the Scott County High School. As you remember, we had a lot of administrative circumstances that led us to the point where we're just now able to get it out to bid this spring, but it is out currently to bid, the new Scott County High School. It is going to bid at 2 p.m. on May 17th is the bid date and time. That bid opening will occur here. The project's so big, of course, we're going to have a big pre-bid meeting on Thursday, the 28th. That will also occur in this building. And of course, this is all in an advertisement that you all have put in the paper, and it will be publicly known. It's on Wind Imaging websites and everybody, so it's very publicly known. With that said, we would expect that the contractors would be able, assuming all goes well with the bid in this inflation-ridden environment that we're in, the contractors would really be able to start within a couple of weeks.
What do you mean by inflation environment?
Well, for the past 6 months or so, or 8 months, whatever, well, I guess it really started in April and May, June of last year. The inflation has just continued to go and go and go up. So the inflation has made things very unpredictable. There's been several projects bid, one in Fayette County, one in Paducah, and not many others really. There hadn't been a lot of bid projects. I think that's all what happened to the Fayette County project, and everybody's sitting back, and now everybody's wanting to know what Scott County is going to cost. You know, what's it going to come in at. And I think we all discussed it. It was really in your best. The project has been done and designed. You might as well get it out to bid and see what the bids are, and that's where we are, of course. And I think Mr. Parker wanted me to discuss a little bit about the archaeological study that had been going on. Of course, it started last fall. They did a phase 1, found a few things, decided to do a phase 2. The Corps of Engineers had to agree with that. They did a phase 2, and from the phase 2 decided that they wanted to do a phase 3, and some of those are the discussions we had. And I think we discussed out there just really finding little bits of things, but since it was classified as a historical site, they had to go through this enormous process and do all the paperwork, and every time one form was filled out, there was a 30-day wait. You advertise and broadcast to a lot of people even around the country to say, look, we did this archaeological study, does anybody want to participate? And there was, of course, never anybody that responded to that. But a few weeks ago, we as in Scott County, got the permit to construct from the Corps of Engineers as part of a memorandum of agreement that you would follow through on a phase 3 study, which is basically just the archaeological firm who has done phase 1 and phase 2 will come out to the site and actually extract anything that may be in the soil under close to where that house was. And for the house itself, of course, was considered non-contributing because the house was just gone. They just found an area where maybe they had dumped things over to the side, so they're going to excavate that area, find little things, and then the property, they'll wash it, document it, and give it to Scott County Board, and at that point you all can do what you want to with it. And you also have the permit to construct. So that's one of the reasons, of course, we were, everybody was concerned about not having that permit in place before bidding the project, which is one of the main reasons that the project hasn't really been bid. So that study will take place, and I'm going to talk to Dwayne. She said Monday, but it's supposed to rain. So it's next week they will begin. They think they have a 10-day window or less. Once they get that whatever material out of the ground, over 2 weeks they'll do a form in a 2-week period. Send that to the Corps of Engineers, Army Corps of Engineers. As long as the Army Corps of Engineers doesn't have anything to say about it, then really you're done. And you all have all the material that they extracted, and that archaeological process is over with. And by that time, hopefully, you have the bids and there's a little bit of time to get the contracts in place. And so the contractors won't even hopefully be on site at the same time they are. If they happen to overlap, they're working in a very small area, like 50 by 50 feet, and you have an 80-something acre site, so it really shouldn't be an issue. But they plan to be done.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
If they did overlap, was there still a delay in the process?
Not for the contractors. We can get the contracts going. They can prepare the shop drawings, the the contractors can mobilize, they've got all that heavy equipment that they can bring on site. And there's 79.5 acres that they can work on, so it's not gonna slow them down. Not gonna slow them down.
Our big deal is to get that agreement signed by all parties
Yes,
and move forward,
yes.
so.
And that was a long process, kind of uncontrollable by you all, uncontrollable by us.
Part of it.
Army Corps
The
did.
pre-bid that you mentioned earlier, did I get you right, you said the 28th? Mr.
Pre-bid.
The email I sent you, I think I forwarded Renee's notice from the paper, it has all that in there. Yeah, it's the 28th paper, yeah, 10 a.m.
10 a.m., April 28th. So yeah, and it is 10 a.m., I'm glad you said it, because I think I said 2 p.m. on the bid and 10 a.m.
Right.
on the, yes, so that is in the morning.
Now, that one I remember, I just didn't remember the pre-bid part of it, the 2 p.m. one I did. You mentioned Fayette County earlier, what was everybody waiting on for?
No, they did a middle school, rather large, 100,000 square foot middle school, several months ago. And it went way over the budget. Yeah, it went way, Polo Club, middle school, it's so much so that they stopped the project because they were just so, of course, I think their estimates were over that. That's a different story, but even with normal estimates, they came in 40 to 50% over what normal costs per square foot were, even cost per square foot that I probably would have used a couple of years ago, or what Great Crossing cost 4 or 5 years ago. So everybody was a bit shocked, and this is national world news. It's incredible. And construction inflation seems to have even been hit harder.
Have they already started building?
No,
they
that's what I was just gonna say. They said they stopped,
Reconsider the project
and
you change the structure.
right there, and their facilities people are emailing me, hey, we want to, because they want to see what happens in Scott County High School, as we all do.
Is it 50% over?
Yes, but I don't quite expect that here. And I don't really know what to expect, because we're hearing things around the state, and some are surprised, well, that's not so horrible. But it hasn't been big projects, because people just in
It's
the
a hard
past.
animal to guess at
Yeah,
right
yeah.
now.
Yeah, but they're bidding out material that they may not need for a year, potentially, right? I mean,
And that's been the hardest
Right.
problem.
the costs are so.
Yes, that's right. And that's been one of the biggest problems with bidding, is that if you take a project like ours, it's 2 years out till the completion date. Some of those things don't come till the end of the project, and it could be like food service equipment or something like that that you don't need till the end. Nobody's giving contractors solid prices. And that's probably, you all brought that up, that's probably the biggest thing that is hurting contractors' bids right now, is that manufacturers and vendors are not giving contractors solid prices that they'll hold. In fact, sometimes now they're saying, I'll hold it for 60 days. Well, we can't even get, there's no place for them to put it in 60 days, even if we were able to do the shop drawings and fabricate it.
That's
So,
the way to go with it.
and a place to go with it. Yeah.
And they can get the materials right now.
That's why they're not.
Yeah, it's,
That's what I'm sure.
right. That is, what I've heard is that materials are getting a little, wood has come back down, steel has come back down, and since, the cargo ships are all free, so I heard there's a new one. Actually getting the material is not as bad, it's just not being able to hold a price for like a piece of kitchen equipment, because it may take 4 months to even get your kitchen equipment manufactured and start to ship, but they don't need it for, you're talking about storage. We don't need that for, 20 months, and nobody's gonna hold that price. So, of course, your guys have already been spinning their wheels about thinking, can we give them a place to store it? And some of the things that we've had discussion about is putting in the addendum, that offering spaces in Scott County, here in this building or in the bottom of Great Crossing, and this is really your guys' idea, but it's a good idea on their part, to go ahead and get the shop drawing.
Super fresh. I didn't talk to Tony.
Uh-oh.
He's talking to Dwayne, I know.
Yeah. But this could be a way to say, look, manufacturers, we're gonna check your shop drawings now, get us the shop drawings, we'll check them, build your stuff, and bring it, and we'll store it somewhere for you, and you don't have to worry about your price way out.
And it potentially could help with lead times as well.
Lead times, overall cost,
Some of those
It's in our
things.
hands.
yeah, yeah. Because GCs usually, when they're dealing with a new site like this one, they don't have a place to store things.
It would take a whole warehouse to store the material for school.
Well, we try to get the bigger ticket items, yes, yeah. Well, we're just working through ideas like that. I mean, the bottom of Great Crossing and the warehouse you have here, or, you know, set up some pods and trailers somewhere. Now, things like concrete and brick and material, that's kind of something that just gets made while they're, you know, made when they need it. And it's not storable materials, but certainly HVAC equipment is a big one. Light fixtures are a big one. Food service equipment is a big one. And those are big material prices. So if we get those early, make them early, ship them, then that could save the board money on the initial bid.
Well, I appreciate all the creativity to make this work. It's obviously the very last thing we want to do, is pull this out from under the rug of the community.
Right.
So, we do all we can to make it happen.
And we are.
I think I've already asked you this already. Where the pond is, where the football field is going,
Pretty much.
no structure, football field.
The only thing that would be under that, of course, you know, when that happens, we'll have them drain it, they have to take the sludge out, and then they fill it. The only part of what would be over the, we say no structures, the double A frame, of course, we haven't done that. If we're talking about athletics
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
right now it's gonna be a big flat spot, but in the master plan, some of the bleachers would be over that area. So bleachers and football field, but no school, no part of the school, no part of the field house, again, in the
I
future.
guess that's where I was actually going with
Yeah,
that part.
yeah.
When do we start the plans on these?
On what?
Well, that's a good
Scott County
question.
High School?
When did we? Oh, gosh.
Yeah, when did we? It's been a minute.
Probably a couple of years.
It's been a year and a half.
Yeah, or a couple of years even. I mean, if we go back to when we started meeting with, you know, people on site,
I
Kentucky.
remember when we voted on it.
Yeah, I think it's
It was
been-
warm weather. I remember that.
Well, you know, during COVID, we had that whole issue with the transportation department. Kentucky Department of Education wouldn't meet on site with us.
Well, we had to put it off.
Right,
Pushed
right.
everything back.
We were Greg Dunbar's first on-site visit
That's right.
in a year or something.
But you all had everybody working wisely, working on the project. It's not to go ahead and work through these things while everybody else is just sitting. And, of course, Greg Dunbar showing up on site ended up being a formality.
A lot of red tape.
Lots of red tape. Lots of red tape.
Well, it's been a long time coming,
Mhm.
very much. We'll
You're
be
very
excited to get those bids out.
Yes,
Thanks, Tom.
you're very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Right now? Go ahead.
We'll see him at Buc-ee's or something.
So, okay, so that's a great question. So, in regards to that, really, Diana and I were talking about a couple other different little things too. And really, until May 17th, that, you know, when we have an idea of what the costs look like.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Let's-
say-
Assuming we're a go, assuming we're a go.
Let's assume everything works.
Assuming everything works out, then there'd be no reason that we couldn't just go into that and start thinking about that.
Yeah, our original conversation was that there'd be a year gap while the old Scott County high schools would produce transportation, and the following year, the middle school would be over. So we wouldn't have to redo while the students were.
3 years, then, 2 years for the high
3 years
school.
from now,
A year for the transition,
3 years.
30 years.
But now,
If everything
Because
falls
I-
into place.
because
Depends on how it
I
all comes
recall
in.
it, well, I just recall us having a couple different thoughts on
Yeah, that
on
was.
that. I don't know where we
that was
landed.
We didn't decide on.
Okay, yeah, I didn't recall.
No,
Yeah.
Here's how that would, I mean, with the way all things are, all you can do is hope for the best.
Sure, sure.
If the train jumps the track, well, you
Yep.
have to
And
compensate.
some of it will be too, where we land on, okay, here, we kind of have an idea already of some of the things that we want to look at today anyway. But then at that point, okay, could we accommodate that over the course of the summer? Or what parts could we run? And so perhaps we do a piece of it in the summer, get them moved in, and
This is
do
very
another.
fixing to go, and
Yeah.
then bring the other on
Yep.
during next summer, or a little bit during the
You know, we
year.
really had to address it again after we pushed everything back in here.
And the other,
Ideally, it's supposed to be on
Right.
I knew that.
and the other thought too is the fact that, we're not gonna need the entire school's capacity. Once they're moved in, to where perhaps it's a situation where we, do a part, put them in that part, and work on the other part while, there's a, we could go a bunch of different directions with that, so. But
And
great
we've already
question, great question.
identified lots of different things when we were looking at Scott County High School
Yeah,
before.
that's what we were-
And identified paths when we jumped ship from that and decided to move on this project, so we have some of those things in place, it's just the money aspect on those now at this point. So, okay, are we good to go, Kevin? Good? Okay, hi Robin. All right, number 9, Student Achievement Report. Welcome.
Thank you. All right, so I wanted to give a very quick testing update and give you time to ask any questions if you had them, and then I'm going to turn over to Paul. So what I gave you was our testing schedule so that you had that in front of you, and then I also gave you the test items, times, and charts so that you could see what each grade level was doing, the types of questions they're going to be asked, and the number of minutes where they will be testing, just so that you had that information in front of you. I just want to commend our schools. They're collaborating really well. Some of our elementaries that had more devices to spare in the primary classrooms are loaning to some of our other schools that didn't have as many, collaborating really well to make sure that all of our students can actually test at the same time in the morning, so that we know kids test the best in the morning, they're the freshest, and so our schools have just worked really well together to make sure that that can happen. So when we look at this schedule, they might not test at the exact same time, but all of them will be tested in the morning so that we can ensure that the best testing experience for all of our students. You'll see the elementary starts the earliest. They're going to start with the survey on May 6th, just to split up the reading and the survey. The reading is our longest test at 115 minutes, so we wanted to separate that for our elementary kiddos. And what we're also going to do on May 6th, I've been working with Maria and her team and really trying to navigate what testing looks like. We've never done it at this capacity before, online. So just navigating through that, her team has been wonderful. And on May 6th, what we're going to do is elementary is going to do the survey, middle school and high school are going to do the practice test, all at the exact same time at 9:30. And we're going to watch and see what happens. So that come Monday, we are fully prepared before students sit in front of a content test. I don't want, what Maria and I do not want is for them to sit in front of a 115-minute reading test and something happen in the middle of it. So we worked really hard to ensure that we can get that practice in and fix any errors over the weekend that we might have and provide that support. So that's pretty much it.
What is AP testing?
It overlaps like it does every single year. It starts the week before, like the few days before the 6th that week. The 6th is a Friday, so it starts earlier that week. And then it extends a couple days after the last day of KSA 2. And I can send you those exact dates as well. But we'll have some, and we're going to make sure that students, we're trying to maneuver through the scheduling to make sure that they're not tested to death when it comes to that, and trying to accommodate those needs and make sure that we're doing what's best for kids. So
have teachers or students look at the practice test?
So all teachers are going to do the tutorial with students, and then they are also going to do the 2 practice tests. And I've really encouraged schools to try and kind of do a mock when they do some of practice tests, send kids to their testing environment so that they kind of work on that schedule and make sure that students know where to go and they know exactly who they're testing with, and kind of work out some of those things. And I think most are. And the ones who are not, middle school and high school, will be doing that on the 6th as well, at least one of those. So. Any other questions?
Good luck.
Thanks.
I'll print the lid.
Absolutely. Our kids are they're gonna do great. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about the impact survey. Results have been out for a little while, and we've just gone through and done some analysis. And so I want to point out some things. I think a lot of you have already dove into that website. You know, you can go deep, you can go wide, you can go all different ways with this. So I could do this for an hour and a half, but I'm not going to. So we'll.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, I also have a 5-minute, right? Yeah. Now you get 15. So we're going to talk first about what the impact survey actually is. It's given every other year, so every 2 years, to all districts across Kentucky to meet the requirement of having to have that workplace condition survey. That's part of the administrator's evaluation as well. 2022 is the second, well, 2021 really is the year that it was given. It was the second time it was given within the Panorama program, and that is a much improved program over what we had to do in the past. All responses in this are a 5-point scale, and what we get reported on is a favorable response. So that 5-point scale, it is the top 2 that are considered a favorable response. And you'll see where, as we go through this a little bit, we'll talk about how that kind of affects scores and everything. All certified staff are eligible to complete the survey, and this year was administered in November through December of 2021. That was a time. Inside the survey, there are questions that include the following areas. They have professional learning, feedback and coaching, school leadership, staff leadership relationships, school climate, and those are the ones that actually have national benchmark comparisons if you look in there. We also in Kentucky include the areas of resources, managing student behavior, educating all students, and emotional well-being and belonging. And emotional well-being and belonging was the first time this was put in was this year. Very timely content. So who responded for us? We had 575 responses in our district. I won't go through the details of that, but you can see it covers a pretty good cross-section of our grade levels across teachers, principals, assistant principals, other professionals. And this is one of the areas that I've kind of also been looking at, especially is how long have people been working for us in Scott County. So not necessarily how long have they been in teaching, but that's also something that I've looked at as well. But how long have they been with our school system? So, and you can see it's a pretty good cross-section of all experiences across our district. So I'm going to point out a few things. This is the overall for our district compared to Kentucky and the change since the last time that it was given in 2020. And so I'm not going to read a chart for you, but you can see that there are areas where we are above Kentucky, we're about even, and we're a little below. The thing that which could be considered a little concerning is that in all of our areas since 2020, we have declined at least somewhat, and so we've been diving into that. And I'll just point out that what I'm doing is kind of an overview, a quick flyover basically of our district, but our school principals are doing this very in-depth with their own staff. So breakdown. Yes, a lot has changed since then. That's exactly right. Right, that's exactly right, yeah. A lot of things are a lot harder right now. So we broke this down for those areas, and I did rank them from our most favorable responses to our least favorable responses in those areas by topic, and compared those by roles. And you can see that principals, assistant principals, other professionals have a much higher view basically have a much more favorable response to the areas than our teachers do. Our teachers dropped a little bit in all of the areas. A minor drop, one or three drops. So it's not that significant of a drop, but it is a drop. And again, considering everything that we've been through. And we had conversations among leadership here at the district level too, thinking, if principals, assistant principals, they may have access to a little bit more information, may have a little bit more of a global picture. Within teachers, it's within their classroom, it can get more frustrating, and you can kind of have the blinders on and see just kind of what's right in front of you as well sometimes. So it's not unexpected that we would see a difference like that as well. This is the one I talked to you about experience in Scott County Schools, and so you can see that our more experienced teachers, ones who have spent more time with us, at least 10 years, have a more favorable response to our survey than our newer teachers who have come in, except for a couple of areas. I think the feedback and coaching part for our 0 to 4 people, that's a testament to when they come in, they are observed a lot more. Most of those 0 to 4 people are going to be new teachers, and so they're observed a lot more, they get a lot more feedback. I think it's also, though, a testament to our SKIP program that we have, our induction program, where we provide a lot of coaching and side-by-side work with our brand new teachers that come in. So I think that's a big part of that. But you can see, and again, these are people who, think about the last 2 years. If you started as a teacher 2 years ago, it was a tough time to start as a teacher. Working with some of those brand new teachers and going through the pandemic and having to do everything virtually when all your training has not been about virtual education, it was a difficult time for teachers during that time. But yeah. We also broke it down by grade levels. So from our preschool to 3rd grade, 4th, 5th, 6th, 8th, 9th through 12th. And, you know, this is what it is. Our elementary and younger teachers of younger students seem to have a more favorable response than our teachers of our older students as well. So let's talk about I'm going to talk about 2 areas because I felt like they were important for us to talk about. Climate was one of them. And this is where I'm going to point out about how that 5-point scale kind of is interesting. So how positive, these are the questions that were part of it. Excuse me. How positive are the attitudes of your colleagues? So a 49% favorable response, which is 18 points lower than it was before. But 33% said somewhat positive, and that's the middle ground on the survey. So, you know, somewhat to quite positive. If you add those in, we have quite a big bump there too. Overall, how positive is the working environment at your school? Again, 60%, which is 16 lower, but again, 26% said somewhat positive. How optimistic are you that your school will improve in the future? 68% said they were optimistic about that, which is a drop of 12, but 20% said they're somewhat optimistic. And think about the time that we were in at that point too, where we didn't know for sure what was going to happen with COVID. Were we going to actually be able to come out of masks? Were things going to start to get back to more normalcy? We had kind of hoped they were, but then we were kind of drawn back a little bit. So that was one of the ones that I thought, well, that was definitely that could definitely be a symptom of where we were at the time. And how often do you see students helping each other without being prompted? 61%, which is a drop of 11, but 31% said sometimes. Again, this is, you know, I think a victim right here of COVID, because how often are students helping each other without being prompted? Well, they were really being kept apart for most of that time. It's hard to help somebody if you have to stay, you know, 3 to 6 feet away from them all the time. So again, some of these results are definitely a result of where we were at that time. On the positive side of that, we had focus on staff leadership relationships. When challenges arise in your personal life, how understanding are your school leaders? An 89% positive response to that. How respectful are school leaders toward you? 87%. How friendly are your school leaders toward you? 85%. How confident are you that your school leaders have the best interests of the school in mind? 82%. And I love this one because it was an improvement of 4%. It went up. And I really think that if you have been a part of Scott County Schools, you recognize that that's where our heart is. Like, that shows what we are as a district. Our caring for people, our taking care of each other, that is a big part of it. When we talk to any of our school leaders, and you know, if something comes up and we can help out a teacher in some way, then they're going to help out that teacher in however they can. I'm very understanding of, especially over the last couple of years, of things that they have had to deal with. And it shows in our survey results there. So I was really proud of that part of it. Where do we go from here? So one of the things that we just had at our last DLT, our district leadership team meeting, Great Crossing shared a strategy that they are doing with their school. And it actually, we discovered it roundabout came from Patrick Keeney when he was in Fayette County. But what they are doing is they are going in and they are defining the levels on those survey questions. So for instance, if you see wording that says extremely, quite, somewhat, slightly, and not at all, well, I might think that, somewhat is something, but Mr. Kidwell might think it's something completely different, and Stephanie might think it's completely different. So we end up with different ideas of what that means on that, and we don't have a rubric for it. We always talk to our students about using a rubric, right? So what they are doing is they are actually going in and building rubrics for questions and for answers. So they had quite an aha moment when they looked at the one about feedback and how often they receive feedback. And it was almost all the time, frequently, sometimes, once in a while, almost never. And they said, well, okay, so what does that mean? If you frequently receive feedback, how often is that? And they started getting numbers. And they're like, well, it means this often, maybe once a month. Okay, well, once a month for all of our teachers times how many, or divided by how many administrators we have times how many months. They started seeing the number of times that there would have to be visits and meaningful feedback. And teachers were like, oh, well, that's maybe not as reasonable as we thought. And so those kinds of activities will really help each of our schools to define and understand when you answer these questions on the survey, what you should kind of base that off of. And these things matter. So we want to follow up. We're trying to figure out a way to follow up with our own version of this survey in fall of 2022. We don't really want to wait another year to have this done because we want to see, are we making progress? We always do this, a small version of this for each of our principals because they have to select an area for their evaluation. So they usually have a few questions that get sent out to their whole staff. What we want to do is actually go back with the entire survey one way or another. So we're exploring ways that we can do that. And we're one of the ways we're looking at is using Panorama itself. We really want to leverage our strengths, our relationships, and the way that we have worked together and the way that we've supported each other. We want to continue to build on those. And we also need to really focus on our newer teachers. One of the things that, like I said, comes out of that data is that it shows that our newer teachers aren't feeling as supported as maybe we should have them feel, right? So we want to find out from them what can we do to help them feel more comfortable, be more successful, feel more supported within our district. And continue to get input and listen to our frontline workers. We need to know, talk to those teachers, find out what it is that they need. And I think us going at it from this standpoint of this is giving us some information. We want to really find out more what it means specifically, and listening to the people who have already given us this information is going to help us move forward. I've talked to one of our principals just yesterday who was doing some hiring, and one of the candidates came in and said, I chose to interview for your school because of your impact scores. So people look at this, it matters. So that was really impactful for me to hear. So not to be funny there, but so that's kind of our big overview of kind of where we're going with this. Any questions? All right.
Do we have a copy of this online, of this presentation? Is that what that link is?
No, just an actual survey. And
Right, no, I do, I know this
We can get it,
presentation.
yeah,
Would
just-
you
yeah,
make sure
send
you
it-
get that to
yeah,
Corinne to add, yeah?
Sure, yeah.
Because I noticed we have the links and everything for the impact, but I want this as well with it.
Absolutely.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Well, Paul, I do appreciate that y'all don't just read this and put it in the drawer. I mean,
Yeah,
you know,
no.
it's something, there's something next, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
I like the part you're not waiting.
Right, yeah, we
Do
do
that.
That was my question for tonight is why wait 2 years? So I'm glad that you're already on top of that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Number 10, approved positions for Virtual Learning Academy 10A through 10D. Do I have a motion?
Move.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion passed. Number 11, approve to amend salary schedule for the 2022-2023 school year 11A through 11D.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 12, approve to create 2 district-wide school psychologists.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 13, approve to abolish Director of Student Services position.
Move.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 14, approve to create 1 Assistant Director of Student Services position. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 15, move to create 1 district-wide homeless coordinator position.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 16, approve to create or ratify 2 certified teacher positions at Eastern Elementary.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 17, approve to create, ratify 2 certified positions at Lemons Mill Elementary.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Approve to create, ratify 3 certified positions, teacher positions at Western Elementary.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 19, approve Section 7 teacher for Scott County High School. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 20, approve emergency certification for a position of math teacher at Georgetown Middle School. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Hold on just a moment, my screen just moved on me. There we go. Number 21, approve emergency certification for the position of biology teacher at Scott County High School.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 22, approve University of the Cumberland's doctoral research project for Brent Allen.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Hold on just a minute, we're doing it again. There we go. Number 23, approve request to change robotics activity club to Technology Student Association at Elkhorn Crossing School for the 2022-2023 school year.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 24, approve pupil attendance regulation waiver request for the 2022-2023 school year.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 25, approve MOA between Deaton and Deaton Counseling and Scott County Schools.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 26, approve MOU agreement between JAG Kentucky and Scott County Schools for the 2022-2023 school year. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 27, second reading and approval of revisions to policy 08.113, revised graduation requirements. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Just a moment. Number 28, approved transportation agreement start over. Number 28, approved transportation agreement with Georgetown College men and women's basketball camp.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 29, approve the technology student fee for the 2022-2023 school year.
Second.
All in favor?
Now.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Approve pledge of collateral agreement for 2022-2023 with West Banco Bank Incorporated.
Move.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 31, approve student meal prices for the 2022-2023 school year.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 32, approve the fiscal year 2023 Family Resource and Youth Center contracts and assurances. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 33, approve transportation agreement between Scott County Board of Education and Bright Horizons Children's Center, LLC. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 34, approve fiscal 2022 financial audit contract.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 35, Gina, financial statement, please.
I've got your financial statement for March 2022. We had a beginning cash balance of $28.1 million. We had receipts of $5.9 million, expenditures of $8.1 million, leaving our ending cash balance at $25.8 million. Any questions?
Thank you, Gina. Number 36, approve current bills.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 37, superintendent's report.
All right, so under strategic leadership, as evidence from our technology work session and numerous items on today's board agenda, the Online Learning Academy I have, and I also have the one-to-one instructional device plan that we've discussed, and how we can be able to provide that beyond just the scope of the monies that we got that contribute to the additional devices that we have. For instructional leadership, finishing up site visits, we had one individual that was out that had to reschedule, and I've got that one to make up next week. And then high school scheduling, just kind of a teaser because it's looking more and more like everybody's thinking along, looking at considering some things that might provide more opportunities for kids, which I know make us all happy. Cultural leadership. Had a meeting with the Georgetown Kiwanis. For those Kiwanians, I should know. Yeah, I should know. Then the reason I know, I was in the nighttime group because I couldn't make it to the daytime group. But the daytime group, I was able to speak to them. Renee went with me to make sure I didn't say anything terrible. She kept me out of the weeds. It was okay. It was okay. But it was really neat because we did have an opportunity. Got to try and emphasize some of the Online Learning Academy stuff, and got some feedback from some of the people in attendance there as to how that may or may not apply to their situation. So it was a really, really wonderful meeting, and got a chance to see some people I hadn't seen in a little while. Human resources leadership. So I mentioned at the work session, but I'll mention it again at this point. We have our interim DPP, Scott Bruins, in the house somewhere. There he is, Scott Bruins. Nice to have you on board, sir. And this is our official introduction of our new Assistant Superintendent of Student Learning, who will start on July 1st, Stephanie Emmons. Where are you at? You're here somewhere, aren't you? Yes. So she's been here all day and just making a day of it, and I think everything's been positive. The most challenging piece has been that home situation. She's just, it's hard to, challenging environment right now. So, Grow Your Own, also with Human Resources Leadership. I had an opportunity to speak at Grow Your Own, and that was interesting, an interesting group and a fun time. Frank Howard, as always, made it eventful, and if for no other reason, I was glad I went because of the knowledge that he imparted on me that afternoon.
Oh.
Yes, yes. Managerial leadership, student services restructure, a lot of the items pertain to that. And, you know, I've had conversations with a few of you on some of that, and again, we're just looking at trying to restructure some things, and again, the net changes of that saves the district money. So I appreciate your all's support on that one. As well as we talked about the psychologist edition, and that ties in with that mental health resources and trying to be real strategic with leveraging our resources to maximize our impact there. And then collaborative leadership, I've had 2 local churches, unplanned, just and unprovoked, had reached out, and we've discussed some potential involvement in ways that we can work together there as well. And then lastly, influential leadership. A lot of legislation, so everything kind of finalized Thursday, and a lot of that it's been, you know, we put the new high school out to bid Friday, and we've got a board meeting today, so there hasn't been, it's been less than a week to really digest a lot of that. One piece of that that was easy to digest was House Bill 678, and Damon Thayer was great in terms of, we talked this past summer, myself and Dwayne met with him, and we talked about some of the challenges that come with school construction projects and time delays, and that was the beginning of House Bill 678, and school districts across the state are really encouraged by the opportunities that exist. It doesn't take away regulations. We still have to follow everything that's in regulations, but we don't have to wait for those approvals that you all know take so much time, and that's right, and potentially can cost you some money as you're waiting for it. So anyway, that's concludes my superintendent's report.
All right, thank you very much, I appreciate that. Number 38 is board comments. I'm going to jump in right now and say thank you to everybody in the room. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for letting us have an orderly meeting tonight. I greatly appreciate that. But thank you again for coming and sharing your views with us. We do appreciate that very much. Stephanie, would you like to start us out with a board comment? Do you have anything you'd like to throw in?
Yeah. I'll just say, the past 2 years have been extremely difficult for all of us. Nobody prepared us on how to survive a pandemic. Many of us lost a loved one. Some of us lost more than one. I think it's safe to say that COVID changed all of us. Whether it was effects on us physically or on our hearts. It definitely affected the lives of educators. Everyone in this district, all districts, I'm sure, worked harder than ever before. Just as life couldn't prepare us for a pandemic, neither could a methods class. But our teachers are our boots on the ground people. They're with our students all day, and they think about them all night. When something goes wrong, they are the first ones that have to dodge the angry calls. In my sole opinion, each of our employees and teachers deserve the highest rewards for braving the storm and pulling us through it. And I just want to sincerely extend my deepest gratitude and admiration to all of our staff, and just give you a heartfelt thank you for everything you've done to get us through this time. And just feel that. And just thank you for that.
Thank you, Susan.
Yeah, just a couple of quick things. One is I just wanted to share with you all, and I know Billy's had multiple conversations, and he probably isn't the only one, but I did have a lengthy conversation with Phil Pratt last week about the challenges our district has as a growth district and still being held to the funding for the 18-19 student enrollment. And few people realize what that means to us, because we grow each year, but yet we're not being paid for those additional students for the last 3 years. And it costs us a lot of money that we're not funded for through seat dollars as a result. And I shared it with him, and he let me know that there's only a handful of districts in the state that are affected that way. And so when the entire legislature is coming together and making a decision, like we all know, we tend to make decisions that affect the masses, and those small quadrants that are affected differently. So he didn't have an answer, but we did have a lengthy conversation about wondering if there's a shot in the world that the state might ever make us whole on that, if there's any way that that's ever going to, come back around to us, because we're actually being punished having to spend our ESSER funds on students' daily requirements as opposed to some of the sexier, fancier things. Yeah. Yeah, so we did have a long conversation about it. And then the other is just a quick reminder, I thought about it at our last meeting and wanted just to remind, we historically have had 2 board members who are responsible each month for going over bills, and that has been for the past 6 years me and Joanna Fryman.
Right.
So with Joanna's absence, we've not replaced that person, so just as a
I was thinking about
reminder.
that when we were
Yeah,
preparing those today.
I don't know that it has
I'll
to be
make a
on the
note of
agenda,
that.
but we might just want to put that on there.
I will.
It's not
Get that
just
on
because
the
I can
agenda.
forget.
Absolutely, that is, it's a big
Yeah,
job.
Yeah, it takes some time.
Yeah.
Somebody else will
Well,
do
it
it.
started off with only one.
Yeah,
It was
all
such
I
a
read
job,
was two.
it's like,
Yeah.
man, you need someone else.
It does help, yeah. It does help.
I'll reach out to everybody.
Yeah.
I'll reach out this week or two and
It's usually
chat with
going
you.
to a new person.
Yeah, I wonder since I came on board. Yeah.
Don't take that money, don't take that money.
I'll take it.
I'll follow up with everybody, thank you.
We're not actually paying the bills, it's not that. Right.
It's just kind of like auditing, it's always like.
Just gotta go through it.
Kind of a
Actually,
rite
it's
of
a
passage.
good board member, it's helpful to me.
Yeah, I mean,
See where this money goes. You do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we all take a look at it, it's added to each agenda.
It's a great
so.
way to learn the finance part of being on, how much, where all the money comes in and out and all that. It's really a great way to learn.
Yeah, pre-COVID it was nice because you got Gina's in there for about 15 or 20 minutes. Yeah. Got to pepper her with questions.
On that note, Wendy?
Well, I just want to say, visiting every school on my spring break was amazing. I'm a Scott County girl, and to go into every school and know somebody was amazing. To see former students that are teachers now was just heartwarming because I feel like I played a little part. And to see parents that I have, their children are 30, 40 years, or 30 years old. I mean, I cried because it just was like, this is exactly where I need to be. And just to see a room full of teachers standing up for themselves, thank you. Because we do hear you. We may not be able to move like you want us to move, but I want you to know that we do hear you. And we do appreciate you. Being in your seat, staying up, deciding on how to teach a lesson when I didn't know how, watching TikTok so I could learn how to do anything on technology. Guys, we hear you. We see you. If we don't move like you want us to move, know that we are here for you. Please know that. Please know that. Okay? We love you. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Kevin?
I guess the thing tonight that kind of came across to me, and I wasn't really expecting this, was archery once. That program, I remember back when that was first started, any of our shooting sports. And I might say it wasn't met with open arms when it was first brought up for obvious reasons. And we pushed through those struggles and made it happen, and the coaches, the volunteers, the teacher volunteers that helped with that program is what's made it happen to what it is today, one of the outstanding programs, even in the state. And I know even the first couple of years that was open, our teams have participated with state events and have placed well just about from its conception. So that just says a lot for the folks in our staff that jumped out and helped, because you have to have a sponsor for that stuff. And they go way out and above what the rest of them to make it happen. So I just wanted to make sure everybody understood, you know, here it said they won this and won that's all nice and everything, but to accomplish everything that not only Ann Mason has, but across the district with all of them, in the short period of time that they've had to do this in, is really, really something else. That's about all I got.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, I appreciate that. Number 39, adjournment. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Good night, everybody.